following session is entitled Writing the Church's Songs, Teaching Hymn Composition to High School Students. Mr. Matt Rivers is my brother-in-law and earned his master's degree in music from the University of Maryland. And he's an excellent musician and a very good teacher. That's not printed. He has taught at Faith Plano as an instructor, and he's married to his wife, who does all the writing, who's also going to present. See? So we're very excited to learn what they have done in their class on hymn composition and how we can hopefully make sure that when they make the new hymnal, it's all good. Let's have a warm welcome for Mr. and Mrs. Rivers.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. With an introduction like that, the bar has now been set. So, Pastor Paul pointed out that I'm an instructor at Faith Lutheran School. That is accurate. However, I'm not on the faculty. I'm a parent. I'm a volunteer instructor, and I want to make sure that that's clear. Only because a real teacher is on the stage with me today, and that's Mrs. Rivers, or Christy, as I'll call her throughout this presentation. A real life teacher who can spot check me on all the teaching things that we'll talk about.
But who knows nothing about music.
Right. We'll get to all of that. But also assisting us is another teacher from Faith Lutheran, and that is Miss Rebecca Roundy, who is up at the organ bench, which is not foreshadowing it at all about what we're going to do today. But you'll see. And so she's graciously agreed to assist us with this presentation as we talk about hymn composition, specifically about what we did and some approaches that you might employ yourselves as you maybe think about teaching hymn composition in your school or at home. The primary objective for our presentation today, and really as we instructed throughout this class, was to take a little bit of the mystery out of the process and make it more accessible for people. Most people don't sit down at the piano and say, I'm going to write a hymn today. If you've gotten to that point, it's probably because you did some other lesser steps before that. Most people don't walk into the kitchen and say, I'm going to cook a full 7-course meal and I've never cooked a thing before. If they do, they're going to have an outcome that's not preferable, usually. But the point is once you learn how these things are done, you build upon them, proficiencies and all of those sorts of things. And what you're able to do is actually come up with something that's surprisingly excellent and God-pleasing. So that's where we want to get to, again, to show you what we've done with our students, but also to give you the encouragement that you can do this yourselves as well. So with that, you may have heard a little bit of organ music as we began, but that's where I'd like to start this presentation, is actually with music that was composed by one of our students this year. And so I'd like you to listen and kind of get your headspace into more of a musical setting or hymn headspace. And so Miss Roundy is going to take us through one of the student compositions from this past spring. That's obviously not where we started in the semester with the students. It was a full year class that we taught the students on. We had 3 of them, 3 high school students, and that was a piece of work that was put together by a 10th grader, which still surprises me. It's certainly not because of us, maybe a little piece of it, just to kind of guide the talent and the focus that she had, but we wanted to showcase that a little bit. So we didn't make you sing it. That comes later. We're going to do some of that. We also didn't want to spend this presentation just talking at you about, here's the 10 steps to writing a great hymn. We might cover some of those elements, but I don't think that that's very engaging or fun. So we're going to do something else instead. What better way to learn how to compose a hymn than to do one? So that's what we're going to do today in this session. We're going to, the group that is assembled here, hopefully we have some theologians and musicians.
We got Lisa Clark, we're fine.
By aggregate, we've got enough here. We're going to write a hymn together, and Christy's going to start that off and kind of guide us with how that's going to work.
All right. So generally, when we wrote our hymns with our students, we started with the lyrics, and then we added the music. So that's how we're going to do it today in a 30-minute whirlwind thing where we try to do this, what we would do in multiple weeks in the next couple of moments. So I'm going to assume a great deal of knowledge and expertise on your part, and I'm glad to see some music teachers and pastors and organists and Lisa. Glad you're here. All right, so we're going to start by writing for a specific moment of the church year. When we give our students the whole church year, every possible category in the hymnal, it's too much. So we're going to start very specifically. And if you have the Bible on your phone or in your bag or somewhere, I would encourage you to take that out now because the most important part is the text. So we have some choices to make. This is like a scary improv moment where we ask you what we're going to do, but here are your options. We can either write a transfiguration hymn, we could write a Maundy, Thursday hymn, or we could write a hymn for Trinity Sunday, Trinity 1. What would you like to do? By a show of hands. Matt said applause was inappropriate. Like, how else am I going to get someone to clap for me? By show of hands, how many would like to write a transfiguration hymn? You're feeling like Moses on the mountain. All right. Good. How about Maundy, Thursday? Ooh, okay. And Trinity Sunday?
I think we need a vote off between the last two.
I think that was a Maundy, Thursday.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. Should we do one more?
Let's go with, you want to go with that?
Let's go with Maundy, Thursday. Well, I'm not very good at counting. That's why my math skills end at 4th grade where I teach. So we're going to go with Transfiguration. Or, sorry, Monday, Thursday. Monday, Thursday. So your Old Testament reading, and if I could have maybe group over here, look up the Old Testament reading, Exodus 12, verses 1 through 14. That's some Passover account. And kind of if you're in the middle, along the middle row, maybe you could look up the epistle, 1 Corinthians 11, 23 to 32. And if you're kind of on this side, we'll give you the John 13 account of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Because we're going with the one-year lectionary because that's the only one I know. It's where people get mad at me. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to look at the actual text. If you have it on your phone, if you have a Bible, if you don't, scooch next to somebody who kind of does. Because I want you to pull out key words, key images, key phrases, key ideas from that text. If you were my high schoolers, I would do this much more directed, but I'm assuming there are much better theologians in the room than me, so I will be quiet and let you do. Okay, I'm seeing a couple people look up. I hate interrupting silent thinking time as a teacher. It just seems wrong, but I'm on a stopwatch right now. So those of you who had the Old Testament lesson, we'll start over here. This is also going to feel weird because you have to say things to me out loud. But tell me what did you read? What did you think was important? Key images, key words. just like I'm writing. You always have that phobia that you're going to spell something wrong. Is that just me? I'll probably spell something wrong. Just make fun of me later. Judgment. That's one that's hard to spell. You know what you were getting into.
Come back next year for our symposium on spelling and grammar.
All right. Festival feast. All right. Covering with blood. This should be a sign for you. My notes. A Memorial Day, a statute forever, all of those things. Okay. I'm going to jump to the epistle, 1 Corinthians 11, where Paul repeats the words of institution. What do we have from the epistle? What do we want to add to this?
This is my body.
Should we? Okay. What else?
Bread. Cup.
Okay.
Proclaim.
Proclaim. What else? I apologize for my handwriting. It's much better when I teach 4th grade. Okay? Gospel lesson. What?
Judgment.
It's right there. You don't recognize it? Okay, the New Testament lesson. The John account.
Hands. All things given into. Time is at hand. Wash my hands.
I didn't catch half of that because my brain is slower processing.
Time is at hand. All things given into my hands. Wash my hands. Head, feet.
I'm feeling a theme happening.
It's not mine.
What else? What else from the text? Anything else we want to add before we start?
Clean. Not all of you are clean. Passover.
All right. So we have a list of ideas and words. Now we have to choose the next thing.
Not that.
Not that. Meter. Okay. Every hymn needs a meter. If we don't have a meter, that makes his job really hard. So we're giving you a choice of 2 more regular common ones. This is not the only choice of meter. There's lots of meter. We spent a lot of time talking about meter and all the different possibilities. But we're going to choose between common meter, where we have 4 lines that are 8 syllables, 6 syllables, 8 syllables, 6 syllables, or long meter where they're all 8 syllables. So da 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 da. Right? English teachers do that a lot. It's just something. It's a weird tick. Gherkin, which meter do you want to use?
Long meter.
All right. He called it. All right, we're using long meter. 4 lines. Every line is going to be 8 syllables long. And we need to pay a little bit of attention to kind of up and down there. But we also need a rhyme scheme. And since we can't use Jesus loves me this when I'm good and I do the things I should, AABB. All right, if you were here for the last presentation, you know that we don't like that song. Okay, so we're going to use the rhyme scheme A, B, A, B. So lines 1 and 3 are going to rhyme, and lines 2 and 4 are going to rhyme, just because that's my own personal preference. And I'm up here with a microphone. There's not really a good reason. Okay, so we are using long meter rhyme scheme A, B, A, B, and we're writing about these texts. Now comes the scariest part, where I need a first line of the hymn. And Lisa's here, so if we get desperate, she probably wrote this hymn already, right? All right. 8-syllable line about lamb, blood, eating flesh, Passover, remembrance, judgment. Judgment, that's 2 good syllables right there. The hands, all the connection to that theme. We can use just one of our 3 texts. We can use all of our 3 texts. What would you like to do? Perfect lamb. Perfect lamb, that's 3. Perfect lamb. A perfect lamb. Okay, I missed the A. A perfect. I'm gonna have to race to get this in here. Hold on. Just remember this. Don't forget it. You can't forget judgment. All right. A perfect lamb, no other man. Well, other man would, right? We can't. I was thinking no other man, like the other mankind. Is that not? Like, this is the lamb. These are the other man. we can go either way. No other man. None of the rest of y'all. We like that in Texas. Right. He's the man, no other man. I don't know. We can. Okay. Okay. So we have, this is our A rhyme, right? And. So this line is going to need a word, line 3. It's going to need a word that rhymes with man, which is great because that's an easy one.
It's not hard.
Yeah. Don't pick silver. Purple, out. Right? Words we choose, words we don't. Should I tell the meat story?
Yeah, there's certain words you probably shouldn't use in your hymns. Not that this would ever happen in your class, but maybe the word meat when talking about flesh, translation issues.
Yeah. Our rubric was like, number 1, no heresy. Number 2, no weirdness. I mean, that's kind of where we left off. So when you're grading hymns, rule number 1, no heresy. Number 2, don't refer to Jesus' flesh as meat in weird context.
All right, so we have to do first line.
Okay, a perfect lamb, no other man, does what? Wash away our mortal sin. Wash away our mortal sin. Okay? So now, connect back to the text. We're talking about washing. How can we reference that washing of feet in it? And it has to rhyme with man at the end. Okay, we could use the close rhyme, man and hand. Something about blood. Okay? The whole paradox of blood making something clean is one that comes up a lot, right? Blood doesn't make clean, blood makes gross. But in this text, right, it does. Eight syllables. Lord, wash my, I can't write it down, my feet and wash, I'm really working on this fantastic handwriting, hands, man and hands. It's close.
Not me.
So, yeah, the other thing we kept finding is when they wrote Christmas hymns, they wanted to write about Dark Knight, and we're like, that's Batman. Please stop saying Batman in your hymns. Say it again.
The thing writes itself. That's all we need is a group of 50 people to help us write everything. Building the new would take no time at all.
Pastor Paul, heresy check? We just got to make sure we didn't say something wrong. Every hymn gets a heresy check. Oh, Lord, wash. What? Who is anonymous? Oh. Not here. I had missed it an H. Yeah. Lord, wash my feet and wash my hands and make me pure. Is there? The other thing is, revision is your friend. Okay? English teachers in the room, Miss Ingram, I see you back there. Revision is your friend. Right? For some reason, when I have taught strictly writing courses, students, they don't really like revision, but they'll do it. With this class, one of the things I found was that you had to tear their lyrics from their cold, dead hands, right? How dare you change my poetry? Okay? And it's hard because these things are very near and dear to us, right? But if there's anything we want to revise, let's do it now because we're about to put this to music.
Two hands. The first word should be one, not a.
I like it, okay. Because?
Because the Old Testament code did demand a perfect lamb, but that perfect lamb looked forward to one perfect lamb.
I like it, I like it.
I have an alternative.
Oh.
It should be, O perfect lamb.
Whole?
O, like we're addressing
Oh,
the lamb.
perfect lamb.
And then it's parallel to the second half where we're saying, Lord, wash my feet.
I like it. Do we like the O or the one? What do we prefer? I went back, we've got them making the... I didn't realize there was going to be so much, like, team spirit here. Okay.
As soon as we're addressing the perfect lamb, it's not ours. Mortal sin, he's sinless.
Ooh. We've just changed the sentence. Back.
Similar to that, we changed from our to me and mine later on.
Mm-hmm.
So we could make it our throughout or mine throughout.
Which would you prefer? Singular? So take away my mortal sin.
I think the wash my hands feels kind of weird from a biblical context. So if you could say, I guess if you want to keep with hands, you could say, wash my feet with your hands or something, your own hands.
Take my hand and lead.
Well, that line seems to be reminiscent of Peter's wash my whole body, which Jesus.
So,
Which is the text.
Yeah, I know,
but do we want that?
Be imitating Peter's voice because he was rebuked for saying wash my whole body. So,
Yeah, he says you're clean. You don't need a whole bath. We're We're not going to rewrite that. Lisa.
It would take some reworking, but we could change the rhymes to plan. Something like stay faithful to your beautiful or your perfect plan or something like that. It wouldn't be perfect because that would be the first line.
Okay. Lord, wash my feet.
We could say with your own hand.
With your own hand or with, oh, in the back.
Lord, wash my feet and wash each hand, and then you avoid the false rhyme.
And wash each hand.
Wash each hand, you're closer to avoiding the false rhyme, but it's still not a true rhyme.
Well, do we want to switch it to plan?
We have nothing but blood. Why don't we just scrap that third line? And
Okay. What? I'm telling you. Okay, we've got a minute until we have to switch to music. So what do you want to do with this? Mr. Hahn?
We could make it past tense and say who washed.
Lord, wash my feet, and it is your plan. Wash your feet. I know
No,
you
I'm
can.
Thank you for playing.
Pastor Owen.
this will take an elision, but if the third line could be changed to Lord, wash my feet only as you can.
Oh, like O apostrophe L-Y.
Only as.
Like one of these kind of things where we take out letters. Because you can?
Only as.
Yeah, this will be kind of a blah, blah, blah. Okay. You know what? Unfortunately, this is where it stands. You can go home. You can go home and rewrite 20 more stanzas to this. We would encourage that. But now we have to add
Lord says yes.
the what? Okay.
So
Anonymously.
when we sing this in about 20 minutes, I expect to hear perfect pronunciation in this region. Okay, I don't want this. Okay. We do need to move on to actually putting some music and harmony into this. And so all of you musicians in the room can now just don't believe yourself. But do you believe that you're moving to maybe a territory that's a little bit more familiar for you and a little bit easier? When we taught the class, I won't say that I'm the musician and she's the English person, but that's our gifts are different places. And in teaching the course that way, she taught a lot of the poetry and the prose and all of the beautiful wordy things that happen that I can't understand as well as she can, nor teach at all. But we are joining in the long history and tradition of hymn writing, which is I have words from the 16th century, you have music from the 18th century, and together they become something beautiful that we can still sing today. And so that's how we taught the course. I used my experience in training and education to help teach the students, here's some of the music theory things you need to know as you start to walk into the world of putting melody together and marrying it to harmony. And she taught this, which I could not have done, so thank you to Ms. Rivers for that. But we're still left in a position where we need to put some notes to this. And so unlike our students who prepared music for this course, and which we're hearing today, instead of writing in strange keys like A sharp minor and other things, what do we have? E, A flat, and you're going to be some less favorable keys. Today everything's in C major and we're using movable do and everyone can relax. We're going to compose in scale degrees and music is numbers, so that's what we're going to do. So as we put notes to this, we're not going to be using note names, we're going to be using scale degrees for each one of our beats, and we're going to kind of come to a, I'll just say consensus on some of the harmony that we're going to use. So just like when you're writing the text, you're really starting to develop motivic themes or lots of other complicated things that we don't have time to do today, which you would, of course, when you revise and build melodies. And really that's where we started with the students was, come up with a melody. We don't say, hey, write that hymn that we just heard. It would be, no, take 8 beats and just write a melodic line. Even just reduce it down to scale degrees and write 8 numbers in a row. And maybe we get to that point today if we get stuck. But nice thing is we have lots of examples of this, even in the hymnal. Some of the melodies that you sing on an annual basis are super simple. For example, everybody knows it, everybody sings it every year with gusto, and it's great. It's just a descending major scale. Here it is. Mighty Fortress is largely major scale. There's endless examples that we have for us. Harmony is the same way. I'll use another Christmas time hymn. Silent Night is 3 chords. I mean, Elvis used more. So I say that to point out that it need not be Spock and everything that you write. As you develop and you get there, that's great. Our students like to take quantum leaps. We're going to start with a major triad, but I'm going to have 13ths and unresolved things. And no, let's get the basics first, please. So that happens. Anyway, I say all of that because I want you to be prepared and willing to take chances as you wrote the text with our melody. So obviously we need a line to go with this, and so we're going to start writing that. And as I mentioned on the screen here, we're going to use scale degrees. So in the key of C major, just to orient your ear, that's not C major. That's what my students would like us to use the C major. Much better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and what's the last one? 1. Thank you very much. Not 8. 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. Great. Okay. You've had this text in front of you now. We're going to start putting some numbers on top of it. We'll use a nice friendly color like red for the eyes, just to start putting some things here. So, most of the hymns in the hymnal begin and end on, let's say, what scale degree? 1. I heard it. That's true. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to do the same thing. Why is that? For what? Oriency, is that the word? Yes, oriency. Absolutely. It's a nice stable home base, right? C major. Nobody really says that, do they? Maybe you do. Okay. So we're going to begin and end on that nice stable base of C. Now we have to start putting together other things here. So generally, I'll tell you this: when the students would compose things, I would give them some general rules. Like you don't want to write a melody in C major that sounds something like, here. Angular is bad. Stepwise motion is nice. No large leaps. So we're going to generally try to adhere to that with this. So here's where we start to be brave. If you've read this, see if you can sing it to yourself a little bit. See if you can get something to come to your head. And if not, we'll do this by brute force. We'll just say we need 6 numbers, but I don't think that's much fun. Maybe you're able to say this Music Man style, where you just start talking slow, and a tune comes out of your head. Maybe that's happened to you already. So who's going to be brave?
You want me to sing it or give the number?
You can either sing it or give me scale degrees.
How about 3, 2, 1, 5, wait, hold on. Yeah, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then 3, 5, 4, 3.
So, oh perfect Lamb, no other man. That sounds a lot like something we've heard, doesn't it? What are the next 2 notes? I don't know what hymn that is. Somebody knows. Maybe this is good. This is nice and stable, right? Let's keep that. Maybe we do something else with these next 4 notes. Somebody else go with it. Thank you, Vanna. I told her I wouldn't do that. Now I'm not the guy. Go ahead. No other man. Love it. So 5, 6, 7, 1, or 7. I'll say it. Okay, yes? Okay. Let's keep going. And wash away my mortal sin. What note feels good after singing it? Can you play the line again? What is your mom here? 5. I like 5. Can. I won. It writes itself. Who else would like that? Thumbs up, thumbs down. say we would, but we will, and you know we're gonna do that.
Five foot five is good. 5 foot 5 is good for you.
Yes, my man. Music nerds, you're with me, we're there, it's okay. We have 8 there, okay, now what? So here's where I would tell the students, this is all fine and good, but remember, just like rhyme schemes, melodies and harmony can kind of match each other. You call and response. It would be great to have something here that's somewhat like what's going on here. Yes? Students, do you hear this in class? At least 2 of them are here, just nod. I'll know who you are. Okay, I see one nod. Okay. Help me out, audience. What do we want to hear after 5, 5, fee, 5? 5, 6, 7, 1? Who said that? Now what? What would be the, think about shapes here, right? We have a shape that's going to do this. What's the opposite shape of that? 6, 4, 3, 2. Okay, I'll put that to the side. That's all your hand.
I was gonna say 5, 4, 3, 2.
I like that. Stepwise. 5, 4, 3, 2. Great. Now what? How do we wrap it up?
1, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so just like this.
Yeah.
And then the last 4 beats, somebody else? That's it. She wrote 1, 3, 2, 1. We really only hit 1, 1, 7, 1. It's not often. It's a lot of 1 though, right? It's not terribly melodic. It's right around 1. Five? She gets,
Climbing up to 5
and then coming down. 1, 3, 2, 1, 5.
I was talking about
Oh, here.
1, 3,
Okay, I got you. 3, 4, 5. 3, 2, 1, 1. Yes? I think, is that what you said?
yeah, 3, 2, 7, 1, didn't you? 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 1.
Just like with the text, we didn't say we were going to write the world's best hymn today. However, let's check philosophy, right? We've got some options here. So, relatively stepwise or intuitive is the word I would use in class. Some opportunities for some fun, harmonically. Echoing, kind of. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. The 1, 3. Go to again here. 3, 2, 2, 1. Nice stable landing. Okay. Passes the sniff test. Is anybody having heartburn with it? It works, I think. Okay. Very quickly. Here's what we would do next. This by itself won't fly, so we have some things to do. What I tell the students is to think of each phrase, the end of each phrase being kind of an opportunity for a harmonic landing point. Not necessarily cadence, but kind of a place that you want to be. So that's very easy here, right? From numero 1, we're going to start on time. And we're really going to end there too, right? Now, in class, what we would do to students when we did this is we're going to go through every beat and have harmony for each one because that's what we need to do. We can't do that for every one. But what I would settle for from this group is, where does your ear want to be at the end of this phrase? Where does your ear want to be here? We did this a little bit from here. Where do we want to be? So, musicians, I think we're still kind of in 1 here. Any disagreement on expansion? I heard you, yes, I'll go with it. No other man? What's that sound like? -6. I'll go with -6. Now, can I wash away my mortal sin? On sensation of 5. Leading the choir.
And this is where he loses me. I don't know what you're saying.
Oh, that's up here. I'm sorry. We'll get there, I promise. Okay. Lord, wash my feet. This would have been a nice place for 6 too. We can do it again. feet, lead as you can. What do you want there? 5. I'll go with that. And make me clear and clear with it. Great. So, I can't see that from here. Maybe you could turn the board at me. So, we're in C, right? At least we were a minute ago. Oh, perfect. And no other man can wash away my mortal sin. Great. Lord, wash my 6 again. In the end, you, what do we say? Can and make me pure and credential 6-4. Yeah, we'll do it. Okay. Thank you very much. It's great. We're not done yet. I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes trying to put this together in a way that Ms. Round can play it for us. And Mrs. Griffin, I'm actually going to take a picture of this. So I can do that. This is really what we're doing today. All right.
You all thought you were coming to a presentation with Matt Rivers. You get me. So usually what we would do here is this would be a longer assignment, right, where the students have to do the rhythms and they have to fill it all in and all of that. But inner voices are hard and we're out of time. So we're going to sing another hymn. This time we're actually going to sing it. It's one verse of a hymn that one of our students wrote. And so it's here it is. But I'm going to give it to you line by line because it's hard to read up there the way it is. It's called No Angels, No Rulers. I believe this is the 3rd verse. So we're going to, do you want to play through it and then we'll talk through it, or talk through it and play through it? Okay. So everyone see it now? Okay. She's going to play it through once and then we'll go back and sing it. Okay, so I told you I'm not musical. I don't sing publicly, unless you're 3rd graders and then they don't care what key you sing in anyway. So I know, I'm sorry, Mr. Gherkin, sometimes I sing off key in front of children. So I'm going to count on y'all to carry this. All right, Miss Roundy? You guys did great. I'm always so impressed by musical people. So that is one of our many, I believe each of the 3 students did 2 full hymns. And it was really great watching them throughout the semester because they got much more complicated as we went through the year. The takeaway here is that every classical Lutheran high school should be doing this. We're not experts. I mean, we try to pretend to be. We've made a lot of mistakes. We got a couple students in the audience today, so they can tell you with gusto all the things that we messed up the first time around. One of them's our own daughter, so she'll be real honest with you. But this is something that every Lutheran high school, and if you don't have a high school, have your middle schoolers do this. Because they're so close. You're already there. okay? Whether or not you realize it, you're already there. This is an important function of the church. I keep saying, and eventually I think it's going to gain some traction, I keep saying that we're posed for a Lutheran Renaissance, right? That these students, they're getting a much better education than I got. I went to a public high school, so did my husband. And the things that they are learning are not things that I knew until I was much, much older. And so I feel like these kids are doing and creating and learning things that they're going to do amazing things with. And so hymn writing should be one of those things. And I'll let Matt kind of, when he comes back from his mysterious location of somewhere, talk a little bit more about this, because this is something that he is very passionate about, that it's important for us to pass on this liturgy and this tradition, that this is a great gift and a great responsibility that we have. And our schools are doing this. Number one, most important thing we found is theological education, right? Our students need to know the Bible. They need to be well catechized to write hymns, and they are, right? They're getting an excellent Lutheran education, and that's necessary in order to write really good hymns. The other thing that they need is they need to be exposed to great masters. It's, for some reason, I think hymn writing's something that we don't teach, because this is something that only the masters do, but we teach them how to paint from kindergarten on, right? We're out there, trying to copy Rembrandt, and I, for one, am no great artist, but I'm still out there painting with my students. So we should be doing the same thing with music. We should be teaching them to write and to do things that are hard, right? I never wrote a measure of music until this semester, because it's not something that was ever part of my education. And so if you aren't necessarily a great musician, or you don't find yourself to be a great lyricist, that doesn't mean that you can't do this or teach this. A lot of our great hymn writers right now in the Synod do one or the other. And that was one thing that we went and talked to Pastor Stephen Starkey, and we were shocked to find, like, he's a lyricist, right? And, we've worked, some of these great musicians and lyricists are very happy to share their craft with you, right? They're very happy to pass this on, because it's so important to our church. So if you don't have somebody who can do this, somebody in your church can do this, right? If you have an organist, you have somebody who can teach four-part writing. If you have an English teacher, you have somebody who can teach poetry. So there's somebody in your congregation that can help you put this course together. We weren't sure how it was going to go when we started, but we're still married, so it's good. We actually worked very well together. It was fun. Our kids have the option to take these 4 classes in the high school, and the 3 girls that were in our class took all 4 of them. There's a music appreciation class that we do with Miss Roundy. There was an introduction to music theory class that Matt taught, and a semester study of Johann Sebastian Bach, specifically looking at like his St. Matthew Passion and chorales and things like that. And then this introductory hymn writing course kind of as that capstone. They've also, all the girls took a college writing course with me as well, and they've taken a lot of poetry classes. I mean, since they were little bitty, we start memorizing poems very early and memorizing hymns. I think one of the things that I was most amazed with when my kids started in classical education was that they memorized the hymnal. Like you start a first line of the hymn and they can finish the whole hymn for you. All 10 stanzas of 555. They're there, right? This is a great part of classical Lutheran education, is they know and they love the liturgy. So this is the part. Well, he's got to get all those inner voices in. So I was told to stall, and I do love talking. I'm happy to answer questions. If they're specifically musical questions, we'll save those for Matt, because I'm just going to be honest, I don't know. But what questions do you have? This has been a really, this is not the process we would do in a one class period class, right? We would start by studying the text, and we got a whole set of Luther's works specifically for this, so that we could start really digging into the text. We would then, write the poetry. We spent a whole semester just analyzing hymns and going through them and figuring out. There's a couple in the hymnal that the kids were like, this should really be edited. And I was like, you know what? I am with you. So the next generation of CPH is out there. What can I answer, Pastor?
Do you have quarterly goals?
Absolutely.
Do you have a year-long schedule that doesn't necessarily match up to quarters?
Yes, we did it by semester. We taught it more like a college class instead of a high school class. The deliverables were, we required them to try hymns from certain sections of the church year, right? They had to write a Christmas hymn, they had to write an Advent hymn, they had to write a Lenten hymn. They could choose between a couple of the lesser festivals and stuff. But then they had to take one of those and they had to develop into with a melody. And then they had to develop stanzas. And then they had to create the 4 parts. And so we did it more like a portfolio so that they could kind of, as they were working through one, say, you know what, I don't like this one, and they could scrap it, and they could use a different one from their kind of toolbox that they liked better, because it takes a lot of time to think through and revise through some of them. The final project was they had to have 2 hymns, 4 verses or more, with 4-part writing. So we had a rubric for those. They, number 1, no heresy. They had to have rhyme, meter, rhythm. There were very specific things Matt was looking for. I can't really explain those to you, but I'm sure you know what they are. But yeah, we do have that. If you're interested, just send us an email and we can send you what we came up with, and you can make it better and send it back.
On the poetry side, we had some fairly limited options for what we could choose. For your high school students, how broad were those options? And if you were to recommend scaling that down for middle school students, how far would you limit it?
I think that if you're writing for a specific text or a group of texts that fit together nicely, it makes it a lot easier. And I would group write with them first before I sent them off to do anything. The first step is actually when I write something and I put it up there and let them destroy it. That's really the first step in getting them to think this way, is to put, we did this a couple of times where I'd write a hymn and I'd put it up and then they would destroy it. And that was okay. I also had to learn to not be sad about my words and give them up. And that was an important part of the process. But I think if you say, okay, we're going to write we spent a lot of time, let me back up. We spent a lot of time analyzing hymns, right? So we looked at things like thy strong word. The image of speaking and light comes up over and over again. That's what makes it so great, right? Or the tree of life, right? That we have these images that come out throughout. Or we have hymns where we take the Old Testament and we connect it to the New Testament, right? Abel's blood for vengeance pleaded to the skies by the blood of Jesus for our pardon, Christ, right? We look at those moments and say, okay, this is what makes a hymn really powerful. What can we do that? How can we do that? So we also, somewhere, I don't know where I put it, we did use the Anatomy of Hymnody that Stephen Starkey recommended to us as our textbook. So I have it in my bag somewhere backstage, hiding with Matt, I think, that I can show you later. But that was good for kind of analyzing hymns a little bit. Yes, ma'am. Yes, they definitely had to peer review. That was regular. And it was a group of students who knows each other so well. They're sisters, basically. So they didn't get as offended by each other as they did by me. And we also, we showed them to a couple of different organists to go through and, because neither of us is an organist. So Stephen Johnson was one who looked at some of them, and a couple friends of ours who are organists. So absolutely find people who are willing to, because we like to talk about what we love, and there are a lot of people on our Senate who love hymns and hymn writing. Find them. They will love to talk to your kids about it. Yes?
Just curious if among those 3 students, their musical ability to, could they sit at the piano and try different, like, were they musically the
We have one who is piano, organ, flute, and violin, one that is cello, and one that is piano organ. We basically made the one girl who does piano and organ, we made her be our organist for the whole time because she could sight read so well. And so we would make her sit down and be our organist for us. So it would be very helpful to have an organist at the class. Yes?
What would you say would be the best ways that you found to promote an air of creativity while you're doing this for the kids, so they felt freedom to?
You have to write with them. You have to. You have to be able to write with them and to not be afraid to write something dumb and have them tell you that, because high schoolers will tell you that. You ready?
So,
Are we-
watching the time, of course, because we really do want to be done on time. Originally, we were going to try to put it up on the screen. We're just a few minutes behind, so I don't think I'll be able to really do that. And I'm certain that there's parallel motion all over this thing.
Oh yeah, that's the thing that they got in trouble for, parallel motion.
So, Ms. Rowney's going to take an extra minute or so just to try to get her hands, but I think this at least represents kind of where we were going. The other caveat to this is, for time, it's rhythmically very boring. So I went with just simple quarter notes all throughout. But I want you to hear what you all wrote, and we're going to try to sing it with this. So,
And if anyone wants to take it home and fix it, it's yours.
or don't. I mean, that's fine too. Before we do that, and now I'm actually going to stall from trying just a little bit. Were there any specific questions that came up?
Were there any specific questions?
We're geniuses. Christy may have said this, but we use the hymn a lot in the first semester. We wanted the students to see this is how it's done. These works are in here for a reason. Everybody has different opinions on different hymns. However, they're included in this for a reason. And this is a great jumping off point. There's more and more and more hymns that you can go back and look at. But that's the jumping off point to kind of learn how this is done. Yes?
From a musical perspective, I saw that your kids had to take
play it through once.